I would like to introduce you now to the maker of Viceroy's House, Gurinder Chada. She's just run all the way. Gurinder, welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the film, and I hope I hadn't even got as far as asking them if they'd all enjoyed it, but they're all sitting here with bated breath waiting to hear you. So I assume they
didn't enjoy it.
They might. You know, this is a tough crowd up here. I think they enjoyed it because I think it's an extraordinary piece, and I think even many people here are fans of your work from the years that you've been doing this. But you've never done anything like this before. Well, I mean, were you sort of conscious that people go, well, I've got to see Gurinder Chada, there'll be some dancing, there'll be some kind of, I've been to see Benedict like Beckham on the stage, and she's still doing that stuff. And then you come and bring out your passage to India, your David Lean. Oh, I didn't know that she did this.
Well, Benedict like Beckham was 15 years ago, and I was actually on this stage 15 years ago talking about it, I remember. But everybody wanted me to make that film over and over again. So whenever I did it was like, oh, it's good, but it's not Benedict like Beckham. And a bane of my life was going to Indian weddings where people would come up to me and go, why don't you do another Benedict like Beckham? You can do it on My Family and all this. So, it's been a
Indians and Jews in the audience all going, I know what you mean. I get it.
So I really tried. I really thought that I wanted to do something completely different. And also, I never went to film school. I trained as a journalist. I was a news reporter. My first job was reading the travel news and the weather at Radio WM in the Midlands. So coming through the newsroom, I was a journalist, really. So I sort of have learned filmmaking in public, but now I just felt that I really wanted to, I have the opportunity here to make a big epic film and completely wow everybody into something else that I could do. And so I grabbed it, and I grew up with the films of David Lean and Attenborough, and I loved Noel Coward, growing up. And I used to love on a Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, escaping into the world of British cinema. There was always movies on at like 2:10 in the afternoon, and so for me this was an opportunity to really work hard at the craft. So I planned everything, I plotted everything. Paul the writer, is here, and we between us we read 20 books on the subject. We met a lot of people, experts. We also met ordinary people who had worked at Viceroy's House and had been there at that time. So we did a lot of research.
But I mean, there's everyone just seen, because you leave it to the review. I love that people have just seen the movie, but spoilers don't exist, so this is the best crowd. You put it back to your own personal experience right at the end, which frankly slayed me. I was like, oh, Gurinder, I loved then. I'd gone. I mean, that is brilliant that you had such a personal element to this story.
Well, I mean, the beating. There were two things in this film when we were working on this film, and for me as a director, that kept me on the path, if you like. One was a film that I admired enormously. That now that I mention it, hopefully you'll see the connection, and that was the German film The Lives of Others.
Oh yeah.
So for me, that was a fantastic film about ordinary people kind of getting screwed, really, by the people above them, and then the people above them getting screwed, and the people above them getting screwed. So there was something about that film.
Do we know that film? Won an Oscar in 2007.
So that was a film and it was a very dignified film, and a wonderful story, telling, and a great ending. So I had that in the back of my head as that sort of tone. But also, as you know now, the little girl, the 2-year-old aunt of mine that died of starvation, because my grandmother's milk dried up because she had no food and water. And so I just kept thinking about that little girl. Obviously, I've got children, you've got children. And I was just thinking if my children were starving to death, how so I kind of had to make a film that would honour her.
Mm-hmm. And was that, so I mean, in a way, was that I mean, we see, sadly, so much migration, still going on in the world. I mean, it
Yeah.
just doesn't stop with you, whether it's in the Mediterranean or in Syria.
Yeah.
We see images on the news. We saw it in Kosovo. Not, you know, every decade has its sort of migration crisis.
Yes.
It's something that affects, I'm sure, many people in the room, your family, my family, have had it done to them or had to undergo this terrible thing. Your film brings that all back, that the personal politics of what you would do, and that's what your film does. So there's this macro politics going on, geopolitics, and then there's the personal, like what would I do in this situation? Would I get my family? Would I slap them across the deserts and risk death and starvation in it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you know, we've had, you know, the story of the Wandering Jew, of course, you know, and we've had recently the Syrian refugee crisis. We've had the in Calais, the camps. I think that the film, for me, the important thing about the film was not necessarily the individual people, but the larger picture of the geopolitics of the time, and the idea that here was, you know, post-World War II, here was the map of the world, and Britain and America were thinking, okay, now how are we going to control this now? You know, we've got a fresh slate after the war, what are we going to do? And it's that really, that idea that countries can come in and control other people's countries for whatever reason that still persists today, obviously. I mean, I know it's a very simplistic way of putting it, but that's basically what goes on, and ordinary people become the migrants, become the victims, but then are also criminalised for it, you know. So I think that, for me, that's the bigger story.
Yeah,
is
I mean,
the geopolitics operated then and it is today.
I was amazed because I don't know about you lot, but I sort of knew the story of partition. I knew that Pakistan had grown out of India, but not really. I've never really seen a film about it. I don't know if this is because there isn't one, but it seems to me that I don't know who else would make it, because the British have their story, and it seems to me that I think the Indians must have their side of the story, the Pakistanis must have their side of the story. Is it something that's spoken about in Indian and Pakistani communities? Is
Well,
it
the
something?
last British film made on the subject was Gandhi. That was 35 years ago. And obviously India and Pakistan are relatively new independent nations, you know, so there is this sense of, you know, nationalism, which in a way they need, you know, to survive actually, or to create, you know, those identities of new countries. So they have their own narratives on how they came to be. And obviously there's been, you know, 3 wars between India and Pakistan, and of course East Pakistan became Bangladesh. So it's a very, you know, torturous relationship there. And then also in terms of Britain and the empire, you know, that's not taught in schools anymore. A lot of young British kids don't even know that Britain had an empire. It's just not talked about. So in a way, you know,
We don't because are they proud of it? Is it? Are they embarrassed about it? What is the post-colonial effect? No one's quite, you know, no one's quite dealt with it. There's a sort of massive benefits of the post-colonial effect, like the fact that you live here, and that many people in this room kind of are born because of colonialism.
Yes.
And that's why London is so brilliant. But
yes, well, my relationship with Britain started 400 years ago when the East India Company set up shop there, and so I think that if we don't know about our past, then we don't know how Britain came to be what it is today. And so I wanted to make a very populist kind of film, if you like, although populism seems to mean something else these days.
It's quite popular though.
So for me it was about making it accessible to young people who don't know about this history. Excuse me.
That's all right. No, I mean, I think you do that brilliantly. One of the great things I think about the film is that it does deal with these very difficult politics, which can be really dry and boring in a way. And you make them so sort of accessible and so dramatic, and that must have required a lot of work script-wise or being sure that you could do it. Tyrodettes, they're magic.
Well, I had a choice. I could either make a very detailed film about a specific, about the history, and go into a lot more detail. But then I would have been making a documentary. And this is a very unique film in terms of the fact it's from a British Asian perspective.
And a woman. I noticed.
And a mother, about the turbulent time in our history, in our shared history. So for me, the starting point, because that's a voice that you never hear, the starting point for me is always, how can I get as many people as possible to watch the film? And so if I'd wanted to do something more detailed about the papers, for example, about the history, then I would have done a documentary. And in fact, I have done a documentary for the BBC, which is coming out soon, which is
while you were at making this epic feature film, you thought you'd knock off a little documentary?
It was after I finished editing. But that's a very detailed thing. But for me, I wanted to make sure that, this is a hidden history. People in India, when they watch this, they're like, oh my God, what happened? And they didn't even know. That's like, a billion people who were waiting to see a film about their own history. In terms of Pakistan, when I've shown it to young Pakistanis, so many, these are people that I know, and also people who've come to press screenings, they either come out and sob, or because they realise the sacrifices that went into making Pakistan. But also there was a kind of utopia that Jinnah wanted Pakistan to be. He wanted it to be secular. He wanted it to have good relationships with its neighbours. All these things that Jinnah wanted haven't quite materialised in the way. So for a lot of young Pakistanis, it's a sort of release for them, emotional release. And I think for Britain as well, I know a lot of my English friends, are completely up for going back and re-looking at history and looking at empire to make sense of today.
It's amazing. I was down at BFI South Bank myself yesterday when they launched UK India 2017, a year of cultural collaboration between India and the UK.
Yeah.
And you think, do we need a year to mark that? Because it just seemed that the two cultures seem absolutely entwined culturally.
Yes.
I don't know what London would look like without Indian influence at all. It wouldn't be London at all. So it feels that they are so bad, but it's obviously 70 years, and they've kind of found a balance somehow.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at the British Council trailer, it's quite remarkable because there is no mention of history, and it is like both nations want to move away from that. And I didn't want to villainise anybody. I didn't think for me that was the film that I wanted to make.
No, I don't think you do the film.
No, I particularly Jinnah, because in Richard Attenborough's film, he's a complete villain in that film. And the same with the British, I didn't want to necessarily point them out as sort of two-dimensional,
And is that why you cast Hugh Bonneville? Because no one can hate Hugh Bonneville.
But I don't think anyone hated Mountbatten either. No. I think he was quite genial, a sort of charming chap who was in above his head, really. Wasn't really a politician. He was more interested in his medals and his uniform
zips.
And his zips, exactly. And we got from his ADC, who we met in Mumbai, who told us all that. But I think that it's interesting, isn't it? It starts with the quote, "History is written by the victors," and history is never impartial, and I think that different people look at this film in different ways. That's what I've taken now, in being in all the screenings that I've been in. A lot of Indians are very, very moved by it, and a lot of Pakistanis are very moved by it, and a lot of British think, oh, we got off lightly in it. That's the sort of comments I get.
But you also, what you use is interesting sort of film vernaculars, film languages, because you've got almost the sort of, I've seen people sort of compare it to Downton Abbey, because you've got Hugh Bonneville in a big house, I think. It's kind of, that's Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And you are not unsmart in your how do I get this financed? I've got Hugh Bonneville in a big house. Everyone's like, brilliant. So that's kind of hot. That's clever, and the US will kind of go, brilliant. But so there's that element to it. But underneath, you've got this other style of storytelling coming in as well, and that's what's great about the film, isn't it? That's that you don't see films that manage to mix and keep those dual narratives going. You've got drama, almost the documentary element of the politics. Then you've got the almost melodramatic
the
archive stuff, which is great.
Well, I don't think people quite realise how hard it is to make a film with people of colour in it.
Right.
That's why there's hardly any. If you look, what are the films with Asians in the last sort of 25 years in this country? You could probably count them on one hand.
And they're all yours.
And a lot of them are mine. I mean, I think that as soon as you say that you want to make a film with Asian characters in or black characters in, you're putting yourself right down on the pile, because distributors, sales companies, financiers, they want to profit. And as soon as you start telling the story from that perspective with those actors, you're not profitable anymore, because there's a perception that if you put a person of colour in a film, that it's not going to sell, and that white people don't want to see it, blah blah blah. And so it becomes doubly hard to tell our stories. So
is it true?
Yes.
I know it's true that it happens, but is it? There's not enough experiment to that. Is it true that
I don't think
the
it's true.
I don't know.
No, because if you look at Better Like Beckham, I mean, that took 3-4 years to get financed, because everyone kept saying, I mean, if you look at it on paper, it's like an Indian girl who wants to play football in a family in West London. That's not commercial. That's never going to work. Who's going to go and see that?
Right.
So on paper, it does not sound commercial at all. And with this film, I wanted to tell the ordinary story of the Indians, and they're the extras. In other people's films, they would have been the extras, and in my film, they have a voice. And so I had to find a way to balance out, have the important people upstairs, but also tell the ordinary people's story. So there's a lot of balancing that I have to do, a lot of jiggery-pokery in order to be able to tell our stories, as well as make a film that will be distributed around the world.
Yeah. The other thing that one can't help is yes, part of the Indian film industry in a way, but you're very much, thank God, part of the British film industry.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of a one-woman industry. You're on your own. But do you feel part of the British film industry? It's clearly where you trained. It's kind of what influenced you.
Of course, and what I wanted you to feel with this film was that you were about to watch a sumptuous, British costume drama, basically, because that's very British. That's what we export to around the world. That immediately says, okay, I'm watching a British film, and so audiences are comfortable with that. And then once they're comfortable, then you start weaving in the alternative position, the alternative politics, the alternative POVs of characters that they might not necessarily know,
Not alternative facts.
No.
Do the alternative facts.
But I did the same thing with Better Like Beckham as well.
Yeah.
I made you empathise with an 18-year-old Indian girl from Hounslow, who really wanted to do what she wanted to do, but then also you understood her parents, who had very silly reasons for not letting her follow her dream. In most, I mean, it didn't look nice. That's why you can't play football. It doesn't look nice because your sister's getting married. But you did empathise with them as well. So I think that's really. I mean, I set out in the film when I decided to become a filmmaker. My purpose was to tell stories about people like me who are normally on the margins of society and bring them to the centre. And I did that with my first film, Barge on the Beach. That was 25 years ago. And
Has
now,
anyone seen that? Barge on the Beach. You must see Barge on the Beach.
and now, 25 years later, then I was the first British Asian woman to make a feature film in Britain. and now I'm still the only Asian woman making feature films in Britain. So in terms of, our perspective...
Do you feel lonely? Do you feel let down by that? Do you feel that you should have brought some more 18-year-old girls out of Hausa doing what they want to do? Or do you feel you actually have, in maybe subtler ways, they're not filmmakers, but you've inspired people to be what they want to be, to break out?
I try. I've mentored people. I've encouraged people. People send me ideas and I say, right, you need to go and do this script course, you need to go read this book, you need to do this, you need to keep pushing. And invariably people come back and say, I really tried and it was my dream, but now I can't do it. It's too hard. People aren't interested, people don't care, kind of thing. And so we have a lot of talk about diversity and all the rest of it in our business. But really, it's what I said before. I mean, if you want to tell a film from the point of view of someone where you can't cast a Hollywood star, it's a hard graft. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but it just means it becomes a harder graft.
Well, I know you mentioned you've done two, you're losing your voice here,
yes.
selling this film. You were on the radio with me this morning, you were doing Oxfam tonight, you're here tonight, which we're delighted for. But it doesn't end here, you're taking this film on the road.
That's important. That's right. What we have to do. As British filmmakers, that's what we have to do. We have to go out, we have to do things like this. We don't have the same finances as a Hollywood studio to promote us. British cinema needs British audiences. It's as simple as that. Without the audience's support, there is no British cinema. I mean, there's hardly any British films. I mean, that go out that distributed. We from my childhood to all the great films I grew up with. I mean, Daniel Blake wasn't even featured in the Academy Awards, or and it was one of our best films in Britain.